Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in this morning. Let's just do a quick double check on the audio. Please let us know if you can hear us loud and clear. And we will be using a question panel that is part of your screen on the right side. On the right side of the screen, you will have this question panel to send us all of your questions throughout the webinar, and we'll be happy to answer them at the end of the webinar. So if you can let us know if you can hear us loud and clear, we'll be reviewing the audio at this moment. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Travis. Thanks so much. So now we're just gonna wait a couple of minutes to start our webinar for everyone to join in. So thank you for your time, and we'll start in about 2 minutes. Okay, I think now we're ready to start. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar from RBTEC Real Time Detection, Prevent Theft and Vandalism before they break in your perimeter with sensor cable. A quick reminder that this webinar will be recorded and sent to your email right after the webinar. I would like to welcome Dory Riback from RBTEC, who will be our presenter for today's webinar. Please send us all of your questions during the webinar, and we'll be using that question panel that I just told you to answer them at the end of the webinar. We'll have a quick question Q&A panel to answer all of your questions. So for those of you just joining in, welcome. And Dory, I think we are ready to start.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining us today, and I appreciate your time. My name is Dory Riback. I'm the VP Sales and Marketing at RBTEC, and I'll present today the RBTEC products and the solutions we provide mostly for outdoor perimeter security. Now, I'm actually starting from the end just to explain who are the potential customers. RBTEC is not necessarily only airports, prisons, or military bases. RBTEC actually, and as far as our solutions, protect very much daily businesses and commercial and industrial businesses. Like in the US, we do a lot of self-storage facilities. In Central and South America and the Caribbean, we can do solar farms, the electrical infrastructure that can be substations. It can be all kinds of dealerships and rental properties. In the US, we do a lot of U-Haul and Penske and other rental or heavy equipment storage facilities. We do a lot of security for nowadays manufacturing facilities, logistics, transportation, and in the US and Canada, a lot of the cannabis grow-ups as well. So we have a wide range of customers that you need to think of when you're talking about perimeter. It's not necessarily only the high-end government customers, but actually businesses that are getting broken into and are looking for some kind of an alarm system for their fence. Among our customers in the US, we have a lot of the large federal and state and a lot of big names in the commercial and industrial industry. Among them, all of them have some kind of security on their facilities. And now I'm gonna play a quick video that just explains the system in 2 minutes. It's really a short video to explain the gist of the system.
Do you have a perimeter fence that needs protection? Then you need the ironclad, a perfect solution to detect any unauthorized intrusion. The sensor cable detects any cutting, climbing, or lifting throughout the full height of the fence. The algorithm of detection is designed to filter vibrations like wind, rain, and snow, while still detecting sharp frequencies like cutting or climbing. Fence sensors were known for being complicated, custom, unreliable, and expensive, but not anymore with RBTEC's Ironclad, or as we call it, perimeter security made easy, reliable, and affordable. The Ironclad is unique. It was designed to be so user-friendly that anyone without prior knowledge or certification can install it successfully. You don't have to replace your whole security system to use the Ironclad. It connects to any burglar alarm or camera system. The Ironclad system can be mounted on any metallic fence, even with privacy slates, PVC, or vinyl coat. RBTEC's Ironclad is already used by thousands of commercial and industrial customers for perimeter protection.
Okay, so that's just a little bit about the system real quick. RBTEC actually offers for fences 3 different systems, or fences and walls. So the same processor can work with an Ironclad sensor cable that I'm going to show what it is in a second. And that Ironclad is designed for welded mesh and chain link fences. We have the mic alert that is designed for the rigid aluminum and metallic fences that are more secure. And we have the wall alert, which is designed for walls that are either inner or outer, but mostly inner, to detect breaking through the wall. So it's like a shock detector to detect drilling, breaking, and so on. So we start with the Ironclad, but this is the most common system. The Ironclad is designed to protect chain link fences and welded mesh fences against cutting, climbing, and jumping. This is designed to be user-friendly, no training, no certification, no special tools needed. You buy a system with a step-by-step installation manual, and you can install it with no prior knowledge whatsoever. It was designed to be, as we say, simple, reliable, and affordable, because this is the main system in the market that on one hand is high quality, on the other was designed to be purchased through a distributor where RBTEC is not involved in the installation in any way. When we sell the systems, we sell them as kits. The kits come either, we can talk about feet or meters, but the kit usually includes a processor, the weatherproof enclosure, 1 or 2 spools of cable, and 1 or 2 end-of-lines termination units. Now, the length of the cable that we're selling is pre-cut, meaning that we sell it in 75 meters, 150 meters, or 305 or 300 meters, which is 250, 500 feet, or 1,000 feet spools. Now, let's say that someone has only 200 meters, 800 foot site. He still buys 1,000 foot cable and cuts it to the size that they need. So the sizes are standard, and you modify the cable on site during the installation. Now, a short video that I want to show is really the basic of the algorithm of detection and how the system filters alarms versus detects intrusions. So you can see that he's shaking the fence. There's a light over here where my mouse is that will trigger once he starts climbing. The reason is that we are able to filter low frequency vibrations, like the wind is pulling and pushing the fence, all kinds of environmental issues that are not triggering an alarm, versus the climbing that triggers a different frequency vibration, a different signature that we are triggering an alarm based on. So this is the very basic algorithm of detection. And on top of that, we have the levels of sensitivity and adjustment that we can do based on different fences. When the system is installed on the fence, it looks like that. We place the processing unit on the fence itself, usually on a pole. You can really see it behind here. And there's a cable that is going to the right of it. And if there's a second zone, there will be another one to the left. By the way, it can be clockwise or counterclockwise, whatever you prefer. Now, that cable that is mounted on the fence in the middle will detect the full height of the fence, meaning that no matter where they cut the cable, they cut the fence, or they climb the fence, this cable in the middle of the fence detects the full height of the fence. At the end of the cable, we have just an end-of-line termination unit, which is a simple resistor. This only purpose is to detect if someone is cutting or tampering with the sensor cable. When we're talking about installation of fences, it's important to understand that we can install this system on almost any type of fence, as long as the condition meets really basic requirements, that it's not falling apart, that there's no items laying against the fence or on the fence, because those things will just trigger false alarms on windy conditions, and that's the only reason that we want that. On a very loose fence that barely stands, this is a really bad installation, because this will won't create any vibration, if any. They can just drop the fence on the ground if they want to cross it. When the system is actually installed on the fence, it looks like that. We have the processing, the cable is mounted in the middle of the fence. We are tying the cable to the fence with stainless steel ties in increments of usually 1 foot, which is, I think, 20 centimeters. And that way the cable stays tight and straight on the fence and moves with the fence when it's windy, and not banging against the fence if it's windy. The estimated time of installation for 300 meters, 1,000 feet for 2 techs is roughly 4 hours. So the largest system we have, which is 2,000 feet, will take about a day of labor to just hang it on the fence, and usually another day of connection, calibration, testing, and so on, as far as work. The ties themselves are not sold with the basic kit. You need to purchase them separately, or as another code, because they are sold as an accessory. You can buy the kit without them or with them. We have 2 junction boxes that we offer. Again, the end of line is simple box that will put the end of line resistor with terminals that are not shown here. But I want to show you that the cable itself is a copper wire. Okay, so this is not a special fiber or anything. It's a 2 strands copper wire. That's why anyone can strip it, install it, terminate it, and so on. When we are talking about the processor itself, what we want to show you over here is that on the lower left, we have the sensor inputs. This is where the ironclad will connect. It's just a simple screw connectors. So again, no special crimping or ends. On the top, you'll see that in the next slide, the outputs to the alarm system. And on the bottom right, we have the input to the voltage, and that's it. The system is working. There's no, again, complicated connections whatsoever. You can see here on the left, like how it's wired usually to an alarm system. We have the 2 zones that are wired separately. They can be normally closed or normally open, depends on how we are adjusting the zone outputs. And we also have an independent power outage. So that will be a dedicated output only if the power was cut to the processor itself. There's actually another output here for temper as well, you can see, if needed. So the basic adjustment of sensitivity can be done straight on the board itself. You don't need any software or computer for basic adjustment, that you have 20 levels of sensitivity, that here you have 10 over that on the buttons, and then you can adjust the jumpers to jump to another 10. So there's, in general, 10 per side or per level, and 20 in total. So the adjustment will be with buttons and LEDs straight on the board itself. You click the buttons and you can adjust up and down the green LED that shows the sensitivity level. But in some cases where the customer has more issues with the installation, they need help with troubleshooting, they need help with calibration, they want to do a more sophisticated adjustment, we also have a software that you connect the laptop straight to the board itself with a USB, and then you can see a live signal. You can troubleshoot the system more intelligently, so there's no trial and error or guessing what's going on. And the biggest addition to that is that RBTEC can remote into that laptop as well and work remotely with the tech on site to help the tech troubleshoot, adjust, calibrate, and do everything on the system, meaning that we giving you the sense of security that any installer that installs the system, and even if they don't have the experience to troubleshoot the system, RBTEC can remotely log into the local computer and help them troubleshoot the system as well. So when we are selling the systems, we are selling them mostly in kits, as I mentioned. I'm not going to show here too much, but just so you can see later on, we have a main code or a mother code for the kit that includes underneath those parts with those quantities and descriptions, and there's a picture on the right just to give you an idea what it is. Now, I'm not going to go into details about that at all, but just so you know, as far as the installations on sites, there are multiple ways to lay out our system on that site. So, for example, on a single zone system, you can have the processor and run the cable clockwise or counterclockwise, and that way you are covering the whole perimeter with one single zone or single cable. And that will allow you to do a simple installation for sites up to 300 meters, 1,000 feet. And then if you start having larger sites, more complicated sites, then we have the processor on one side of the site. It can be on the corner, and it can be near the gate. And then you have two zones that are wrapping around, and both of those zones are going to end at this corner. They are not loops. The zones are not going back to the processor. They don't need to go back to the processor itself, and they are just ending with an end-of-line termination. And I'm gonna skip all the other site designs as well. So the second product that we're talking about is the Mic Alert. The Mic Alert is a similar product to the Ironclad. It's just that on the fence itself, you have the cable is clipped to the fence or strapped to the fence as well. It will do the same thing as the Ironclad. It will detect cutting, climbing, and jumping off the metal fence. It's designed for sites that have, you know, nicer fence, rigid fence. In Latin America, there's many sites that don't do chain link but do more of the bars, so we can do that as well. The installation in most cases is recommended to do on the brace or the rail of this fence, meaning that you do not install it in the middle of the fence like the chain link, because we cannot have the cable hanging in the air between the rods. That means that they will sway away in the wind, and also they almost don't sense the fence, because imagine the contact with the fence is just on the poles itself and the rest is in the air. So in this case, we will run it on an infrastructure that is straight along the fence, and as we can strap it 100% to the fence itself. Those are just different examples of installations. You can see that in some cases they are strapping it with zip ties, which are not recommended but can be used. In other cases, those are metal ties, and in some others, those are clips. So either way, this will work. Again, you can see here different applications as well that we install the cable on the fence. So the third system, as I mentioned, is the Wall Alert, and the Wall Alert is just a system that is similar to the other two, but is designed for warehouses, storage facilities, secured buildings, safes, all of those where you want to detect someone is breaking the wall with a hammer, is drilling through the wall, is cutting through the wall. It can be to wood, drywall, concrete, brick, all of them, in order to detect someone coming through the wall and not coming through the doors or the sitting on the floor. Now, the other thing is that, just to mention, we have options to protect gates in different ways. I'm not going to go into details in the gates, but we have a sliding gate kit to protect sliding opening gates. There's a way to protect swing gates, can be single or double. And we also have a quick connector that we have to protect gates that you cannot go under, or some kind of an emergency gate that rarely opens, and you want to have it just with a quick connector to open and close the cable. So just to give an example and comparison to why choosing fence sensor versus video or infrared sensors or beams. So just to give you an idea where the fence sensor is better than video, and in most cases, it's line of sight. So while video still relies on what the camera can see, meaning that if there's vehicles, people, objects, weather, anything, vegetation that is blocking the line of sight of the camera and it won't see, it doesn't matter how good is the camera or the analytics, if it doesn't see, it doesn't detect. The fence system is mounted on the fence, which is the border of the property. And if someone is cutting or climbing that, you'll have 100% coverage to detect them anywhere that they are coming from. And this gives you the highest probability of detection without the investment of cameras in infrastructure and power and communication around larger properties. Second, there's no monthly, yearly, or license fees at all. This is a one-time fee that you buy, and then you have it for years on. And as far as bottom line cost of infrastructure and reliability over time, it's a lot cheaper versus cameras that need to be maintained and replaced and are more susceptible to lightnings and issues with power and so on. As far as the infrared sensors, this is another type of solution that many people use in these days, and the fence sensors or the wall sensors that would be a lot better solution. Is that again, it's less susceptible to weather conditions, direct light, dust, or anything, or sand on the lenses. It triggers IR beams, trigger false alarms for animals a lot often than fence sensors. And again, mostly the issue is that they are protecting only straight lines. So if the fence is going left, right, up, down, you need to add more and more units and have, again, more and more infrastructure to run to those IR beams. And therefore, the installation is more complicated and in many cases, over time, less reliable as well. So that's for the basic, what we call the plug and play fence systems and perimeter systems. Now we have a plug and play ground sensors. So the ground sensors is based on seismic detectors or geophones that you bury in the ground that will detect steps, digging, and vehicles and trigger an alarm for them. And this is a plug and play system like the fence systems. So it's extremely simple and extremely user-friendly. But on the other hand, it's extremely smart as well. So no other system in the market uses AI, machine learning to detect vibrations and intrusions from ground sensors. So what we have is we have a system that is allowing us to listen to the vibrations in the ground and match them to a signature-based detection. That doesn't mean that we detect only steps that are from humans, animals, construction sites, vibrations from a road, a train, or anything like that won't be detected as an intruder. Now I can show you a short video of that as well. And the main thing here that I want to show you, why it stopped. Okay, it's not working, so I'm not gonna. The system, you can see the video later on, but the system does not detect dogs or animals that are small, and therefore won't trigger false alarms again from deer, from dogs, from bears, or from anything like that. The way the system looks like is you have a processor that can have 4 or 8 sensors connected to that, and each sensor is roughly 10 meters of detection. So the basic system is 40 meters or 80 meters. I'm not gonna show all the ways it's connected, but on the video you can see that. So we see the live signal of the 4 sensors each time. You can switch to the other 4 over here. And when the system triggers an alarm, it will classify it as walking and will trigger an alarm for that. You can adjust the sensitivity for each sensor and each type of detection. We can adjust the repetition, meaning I want to detect 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and so on, and only then to trigger an alarm. And the last thing is the matching of the database. So we have a database of steps, and for example, I can say that only if the signal matches in 60% to the database that I already have, trigger an alarm. And I can adjust it to lower and higher. Obviously, higher is less false alarms because it needs to match exactly the database. Lower is a more broadened detection and a higher chance of false alarm. When the system is installed, it looks like that. The sensors are buried completely in the ground, and you won't see anything. So the system is completely invisible once it's installed. Sometimes they will put the processor in a cabinet above ground. Sometimes it's a cabinet underground, but the sensors and the cable and everything is completely underground and hidden. So the last system that I want to talk about is our RaySense. This is a completely different system from the other 2 systems that I talked about, or the system that I talked about so far. This is our high-end system. This is designed for sites that are 5 kilometers, 3 miles perimeter and more. This can monitor, as you can see here, up to 100 kilometers or 62 miles of perimeter. This is the system that we use for government, for airports, for large solar farms, for large properties that are like industrial parks that need protection for long perimeter. And this allows them to protect the whole perimeter with 1 box. But with this 1 box, even if, let's say, the perimeter is 20 kilometers, we can tell where the intruder is within 3 meters. So along those 20 kilometers of cable, we can say in a resolution of 3 meters where the intruder is coming from. So the way the fiber optic works is that we are shooting a light into the fiber and we see a reflection of the cable. So again, this is not a loop system. It does not need to go back to the unit. It's an optional. It can go out from the unit and end in an end of line termination as well. But we have a 2-channel option or a 2-channel unit that we can detect and monitor a fence or perimeter in the ground in clockwise and counterclockwise the detection, meaning that a single cut we won't lose the detection because channel 2 will detect all the way to this cut clockwise, and the blue line will monitor up to the cut in a counterclockwise configuration. The general system layout is like that. You have, again, a fiber optic cable connected through a patch panel to our laser unit that connects to the RBTEC software that shows you the map and the locations and so on. And from there, you have an integration to VMS and other cameras and video systems and multiple workstations or monitoring stations if the customer chooses to. Some of the applications we've done, actually, we have more pictures, but there are higher security and lower security applications, double runs as well. You can do it in the ground in multiple applications. A single run is a standard, a 2-run is a high security, and pulse or serpentine, this is borders and high security military bases and so on. Just to give you an example of how the system works. So you can see a video here of the system. On the right, you see the actual raw signal of the system. On the left, you can see the ATV driving. The cable here is in the ground. So we can see that the ATV is driving. The system is classifying it as a vehicle. The user front end got a vehicle alarm and placed it on the map where the alarm came through. Now he's gonna drive along, and I'm gonna jump to, and he's gonna get out of the vehicle or the ATV, and you'll see the signal goes away immediately. And then we'll start getting a walk alarm. You see that the system sees an alarm, trigger the walking alarm, and place it on the map as well. So in that point, you can see that where he's walking, and we can see the signal of the walking in the ground as well. And then he's gonna start digging. And we can see the digging alarm, which is different signal. The system classified as digging, and we're getting a digging alarm on the system itself, and also where the location is. And you can see they walked maybe 10 meters, and we got the alarm exactly where the digging started as well. Now, just to give you an example with pictures, going back to the beginning of our conversation on the pictures of the customers that people are usually buying it. We do a lot of the industrial outdoor storage. So you see cables, materials of all kinds. The cable is mounted and on the fence on all of them. We do a lot of the solar farms, again, small and big, from, it can be 200 meters, 800 feet or 1,000 feet perimeter to few kilometers, 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers solar farms as well. As I mentioned, in the US, we do a lot of the self-storage. It can be boats, RVs, buses, trucks, containers, anything that is outdoor storage. A lot of the scrap yards in recycling. So again, for places where they steal stuff from. As I mentioned, transportation, logistics, so trucks, trains, logistics bays, container storage, and so on. For those type of locations that are also data centers, we do also indoor fences. So if they have an area that they fenced inside the building, we can protect that fenced area as well. As I mentioned, again, all the energy sectors that are gas, water, utilities, wastewater, anything that is needed protection. We do a lot of the gated communities, golf clubs, estates in Mexico. Those are actually two pictures for Mexico that are for small neighborhoods that wanted protection as well for the neighborhood. In the US, we do a lot of the local government, so it can be impound lots, tow lots, anything that is vehicles or local government that they are breaking into. And those are, for example, the different applications. We do public pools in the US, nursing homes, zoos, amusement parks, all kinds of things like that. Now, just to show you different infrastructure, just to explain that your imagination needs to be wider and broader, because we can do installations on any type of infrastructure. You can see different types of welded meshes, chain link that is anti-climb, and we do, on concertina coils and barbed wires as well. You can see the cable on the barbed wire going up and down. So it's not necessarily just chain link and not necessarily just welded mesh. In some cases, we can do solar as well. So if you have locations that you need solar and wireless, we don't sell the solar, but EPCOM can sell you the solar and the wireless, and we just can connect to that and send the alarms. The alarms, again, are just dry contact outputs, normally open and normally closed. And that's it. That's the webinar, if you have any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Dory. Let us check if we have any questions from the attendees. Please send us all of your questions. We'll be answering on this panel. So Mr. Guillermo Arzola is asking us, does it have to be run straight or can be installed on a U-shaped metal fence?
Can you read the question again? I'm not really sure I understand.
Yes, so he's asking if the installation need to be run on a straight line or if it can be installed on a U-shaped metal fence. I mean, as in a curb.
It doesn't need to be installed in a straight line. It can be installed in any way you want. The cable can go up and down. I'm not really sure what a U-shaped fence is, but you can do it in any fence and any application is needed. The cable is flexible, so it doesn't need to be straight in order to work. It can work in any angle needed.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dory. Another question from Mr. Winston is, what about animals?
As far as what? Fences or ground, or which, if you can clarify on exactly what application?
All right, Mr. Winston, if you can send us more information if it's on the fence or if it's only for detection on the ground. Mr. Darrell, let us check. I have a situation where I have iron bars together with cement wall, 2 meters cement walls, 2-meter vertical iron bars, and then cement again. How could I secure this? So let me repeat that question, Dory. So Mr. Darrell has a cement wall of 2 meters and then iron bars for 2 meters and then cement again. Is there any way to protect that structure?
Mixed infrastructure like that is the hardest to protect, and I can't answer that just like that. An answer. There are sometimes possibilities. In some cases, if there's only a wall, we'll ask the customer to add on this wall a small fence and then have fence all around and not jumping between fence and a wall. If you have just a fence and just a wall, it's honestly not really reliable solution to protect both of them with the same system, and therefore it's not recommended.
All right, thank you, Dory. Another question. Well, Mr. Winston is saying that for the animals, the question is about the fence. So what about animals on the fence?
So on the fence, the system is designed to animals that are brushing against the fence or scrubbing against the fence. It won't trigger an alarm. And animals that are small animals like squirrels, raccoons, all of that, they are not heavy enough to trigger enough vibration to trigger an alarm, and therefore being ignored as well. So the system is designed to pick up vibrations that are caused by a human weight and more in order to trigger only for humans and not there for small animals. If like a bear will climb the fence, unfortunately, it will trigger an alarm.
All right, thank you, Dory. Another question from Ron. What type of wire is used? And this is because he's asking us, how will it cable hold on extremely salt areas? Next
So
to
the no problem with extremely salt areas. The system, the cable outside of the ironclad is a stainless steel braid, meaning that it can sustain salty areas. And under it, there's a UV rated, outdoor rated PVC, and only under that there's actually the sensor. So there's no issue with extremely salty areas. We have installations near the ocean and near other places around the world where it's extremely salty, and it doesn't affect the system whatsoever.
Thank you, Dory. And one last question. Does the ironclad come with a mobile notification ability?
No. So the ironclad, imagine, is a sophisticated sensor. It's not a system. We need always to connect to some kind of a third-party burglar alarm or alarm system or application or something like that. So there are other systems that you need to connect the ironclad to in order to get it on an application or the phone. Imagine you buy a burglar alarm that has an app. So when we connect as a zone in the burglar alarm, you'll be able to see the alarms on the app. Or there are other methods out there in the market. But us as a system, we're not designed to be a complete system, but just as a portion of a system or a sensor that connects to a head end that will transfer the alarms to the user. And the reason is that most cases, we would like the customer to have a more of a wholesome solution that includes multiple systems, and we're just the outdoor protection sensor in it. So if there's a factory, for example, or a logistic area, they're going to have the RBTEC system on the fence, and they're going to have an alarm system for the building doors, and so on. And again, we're just a portion of the whole system. And the system that we have doesn't have a clock, and it doesn't have an arm and disarm. And therefore, if you had an app, it was really problematic to arm and disarm the system. And we don't have a way to communicate to the app as well, because the system only has dry contact relay outputs and nothing more.
Thank you, Dory. And yes, for this application, we do have the EPCOM AX alarm panels. as well as MCDI secure door centrals, so you can connect the RBTEC solutions to our intrusion panel systems. And one last question, again, Mr. Barron, he's asking, how does the growth of vegetation on the fence affect the system?
So growth of vegetation on the fence itself does not affect the system. The only vegetation that affects the system is the type of vegetation, whether it's on or next to the fence, that will hit the fence or slap the fence or whip the fence when it's windy. And if something whips the fence when it's windy, it imitates the same vibration as cutting and therefore trigger false alarms. So we need to cut all the vegetation that will hit the fence when it's windy. If it's just growing on the fence, there's no issue.
Excellent, Dory. Okay, so I think that was the last question, and we want to thank you, Dory, for your time this morning and for all the information.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry?
No, thank you, you and everyone else.
Thank you, Dory. And well, just a reminder for everyone, this webinar was recorded and we'll be sending it to your email. So any question about a future project that you need help, or support team is ready to help you and code you any of the products that you review on this presentation. So again, thank you so much for your time and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.